Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'd like to start the meeting of the Dutchess County IDA and welcome everybody, including some babies, I hear. First thing is I'd like to take the roll call for the meeting attendance. Jasmine, if you could do that.
Sure. It's Tim Dean,
Here.
Mark Doyle,
Yes, yeah.
Kathy Bauer, Stacy Lagenthal,
Here.
Jamie Picone.
I saw Jamie. Oh, there he is.
I was muted by the administrator. Now I'm unmuted. I'm here.
Don Sagliano,
Muted.
I'm here. I was also muted by the administrator.
Al Torjani,
Here.
Okay, we're all set then. We have a quorum. First thing that I would like to do is to remind everybody of our conflict of interest policy. I will state that Kathy Bauer is not present due to a conflict that she had with the project to be discussed upcoming. She has a business relationship with the applicant. Does anybody else have a conflict of interest that they're aware of right now before we start? If so, please state it. Okay, if not, we'll move on. And if at any time during the meeting we have a conflict that comes up, we can bring it up at that time. Okay, proof of meeting notice was posted, correct, Sarah?
Yes, it was posted on June 18th.
Okay, great. Are there any bills and communications that we need to talk about right now?
No, but I do want to say that we do have members of participating as well as members of the public on the phone and not on video. So if speakers could announce their name before they speak, that would be appreciated.
Okay. First order of business is approval of minutes of the May 20th and June 4th meetings. I hope that everybody's had an opportunity to review them. Does anybody have any corrections or comments about the minutes? Okay, if none, I will ask for a motion from somebody to approve the minutes.
Oh, one thing, Tim, I'm sorry, I just got a note,
Yes.
is if you are unmuted by the host, please do not mute yourself because she will have to unmute you. So just remain unmuted through the meeting.
Oh, okay.
So Don Sagliano.
He would have to unmute himself.
No, Rachel would have to unmute him. So if you are unmuted by Rachel, do not remute yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so Rachel,
So
if you
we'll all be live at all times.
Don Sagliano.
To take care of everyone.
All right.
I think just for the record, if anyone from a project needs to speak, if they could just raise their hand, that way I know who to unmute.
Okay. Apologize for all the technical difficulties of working with these remote meetings. Can I get a motion from somebody to approve the minutes of the May 20th and June 4th meetings?
Al Torgiani, so moved.
Okay, I've got a motion from Al. Was it Mark Doyle that I heard as a second?
Mark Doyle, second.
Thank you, Mark. All in favor? Jasmine, will you please take a quick roll call vote?
sure. Tim,
In favor?
Mark Doyle,
In favor?
Stacy Lagenthal,
In favor?
Jamie Picone,
In favor.
Don Sagliano,
Don Sagliano in favor.
Al Torjani.
Al Torgiani in favor.
Okay, based on that, I don't believe we have any opposed, but if you oppose, please so state. Are there any abstentions? Please so state. Okay. So moving on, report of the treasurer.
Good morning, this is Marilyn York speaking. Looking at the balance sheet, we have approximately 2.6 million in cash available. Looking at the P&L, as far as being on budget, we are on budget. Nothing unusual or unexpected to report at this time. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, I did not hear any requests for questions. Can I get a motion to approve the report of the treasurer?
Mark Doyle, so moved.
Al Torrigiani, second.
Thank both of you. All in, I'm sorry, Jasmine, will you please take a vote?
Tim Dean,
In favor?
Mark Doyle,
In favor?
Stacy Lagenthal,
In favor?
Jamie Picone,
In favor?
Don Sagliano,
Don Sagliano in favor.
Al Torrigiani.
In favor?
Okay, so that's that report is approved. Moving on the agenda, reports of committees. Sarah, is there any reports from committees?
No, no reports from committees.
Okay, is there any unfinished business?
No.
Okay, that brings us to our new old business, so to speak. For consideration and approval of a final resolution for Arthur May Redevelopment LLC, Town of Poughkeepsie, to induce a project providing for a mortgage tax exemption, sales tax exemption, and payment in lieu of taxes for an approximately $69,730,000 project for construction and redevelopment at 25 and 31 Raven Avenue, former Arthur May School, Arlington Central School District, to construct a mixed-use project to entail approximately 187 residential units, 18,000 square foot of commercial space, and a hotel. I'm going to ask Don Capolino to discuss the process. There's been a few minor changes to the original application and description things, and so I will ask Don to just go over those for us to bring us up to date.
Thank you, Tim. There are a couple things.
Don, can you say your name? I'm sorry, can you say
I'm
your
sorry,
name?
this is Don Capolino. On Friday, there was some discussion about the contents of the pilot agreement, only insofar as it related to the transition period from when title was taken from the developer to the IDA until construction was completed. And there was some ambiguity there, so we straightened that out by talking to the supervisor, and it was made clear, and I think I covered that in an email to the board, and I discussed it at the beginning of the public hearing as well. The second issue had to do with the structure. At one point, the developer had a holding company that was going to take title and then eventually sublease to a New York LLC. The holding company is a Delaware LLC. Again, it's controlled by the same people, but the holding company provided for some kind of financial partners to join. At this point, and so we drafted the documents based upon that in order to avoid having to come back for the sublessee to be approved by the board. Well, as it turned out, in order to have this move along, and since they're not ready yet with partners, they're just going to move forward with the Delaware holding company. At this point, it seems the owner will be, again, the same people involved, and the other partners that may be brought in the future are not yet in, so they're just moving forward this way. Meaning they're going to have to come back to the board if and when sublessee is determined. And so those changes are, we don't consider them to be substantial in any way. We just had to modify all of the documents, and that for that reason, the board received on Monday the actual language of those of the proposed documents to be signed when we close, and that those were sent on to the board, and I believe Sarah posted those changes as well to the website.
So I did have a chance. This is Tim Dean speaking, Don. I did have a chance to compare the blackline version to the final version, and I hope the other board members were able to do so as well and see that the majority of the changes were reflective of what you talked about, is the elimination of the subleasee and the language for the subleasee in the document. Did you want to say anything else before I open it up for questions from the board, Don?
No, the other point was that the pilot, as we said, the pilot agreement provisions were changed as well, I think, in order to clarify that transition period, that the applicant will be paying full taxes, and it would be reassessed throughout that process up until a temporary certificate of occupancy is granted for any building in that phase, each of the 5 phases.
And to again, this is Tim Dean speaking, and just to further clarify, that was something that was worked out between the taxing entities and the applicant. We just, facilitated the language in our documents, but that agreement was made between the taxing entities. So they approve of all of these changes that were made.
This is Don Capolino again. I was speaking directly to the supervisor of the town of Poughkeepsie about about what was meant when they did it, and he clarified those positions, and we do have some correspondence relating to that as well. He texted me saying, yes, that's what I do.
Okay, so before I open it up to comments from the board, I just wanted to comment that this is Tim Dean speaking. I did take an opportunity to read the public comments myself, and there were some very good, comments in there, which I appreciate and reviewed and considered. The one thing that was, corrected, that had to do with me personally, and I do acknowledge this, was that during the last meeting, I stated that this project was within a distressed development. In actuality, it abuts a distressed census tract on 3 sides. That being said, the reason for my comment was to point out that it was, qualified to be considered as one of those, and the language says abuts or is within a distressed census tract. So my comment, while definitely was not correct, it's the provision still applies since it abuts it. And that was the intention of my comments, was to point out that there was a distressed census tract there. And it is on 3 sides. Just a couple of other comments. It was mentioned that perhaps we were rushing to conclusion here. I just wanted to point out to everybody that our part in this has been fairly recent, but this project has been under consideration for over 4 years. We've all been aware of, some of the discussions about it. The most important people involved in this, which were the school district, the town, the special districts, they've all been at this for many years. It was as a result of an RFP or RFQ. And so I think a lot of diligent effort has been put into considering this project by everyone. And I don't think but I will look for board comment. I do not personally feel rushed by the process that has taken place with us as in our roles. And just my final observation was in regards to some of the comments. When I look at this as a board member, I want to know, are the taxing entities in support of the project? And clearly the school district has stated that they are in favor. And in fact, we're the ones that wanted to sort of fast track this so that they could receive as much benefit from this project coming off the tax rolls as possible. The town has spoken out in favor of the project, both at our meeting and at the public hearing. The developer is a well-respected developer from the area. This is not their first go-round, so I think I have confidence in that. And I did mention that it was abutting a distressed census tract on 3 sides. And also we have the support of the Arlington Business District, which is the surrounding businesses. So I think that from that standpoint, to address some of the public comments, I think that we have looked at this carefully. But again, that's my opinion. And now I'm going to open it up to board members to see if they have any questions or concerns about the project in general or as a result of any public comments.
Tim?
Don Sagliano.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I'm allowed to have the floor for a few moments,
Yes.
I'd like to ask Attorney Don Capolino regarding a potential or possible sublease document that may or may not occur in the future based upon the statements you made. Is that something that is typical in IDA projects? I know in the I've been involved with that certainly is something that it's very much a part of the protocol, so to speak.
Hello?
Oh, I got to call you back.
Don Capolino. Don, the board approval of any assignment or sublease is required in every case. It's routine. We do that in many cases. We have a couple that are running right now where that is exactly what's happening. Here, the way this was structured at the outset was they had hoped to be ready to have both the ownership interest and the sublease arrangement in advance. Now we switched to a set of documents that would do that to avoid having to come back to the board for the sublease. Well, as it turned out, they were not ready for that. And so we backtracked and we merely went to our other set of documents or other model for doing that. And this is actually the more typical way that we do things. So as opposed to being something out of the ordinary, we've done what was proposed originally as well, but we backtracked from that at the applicant's request because they weren't ready for that. And the only reason that they have to move forward here is the school districts need to put the money in their budget so that they can then use that money for the upcoming school district year so that they can help with their tax, their revenue, the revenue side of what their budget is.
Thank you. Chairman Dean, I also would like to draw attention to some comments that were received by the public during the public hearing. There was a representation made that I did not look at a document, a 47-page document. In fact, I already had looked at that document. I was having difficulty with pulling it back up to refer to it, and that's why subsequently I had the document emailed me during the meeting. And I also would like to make a statement that we as a board, we have quite a bit of responsibility here, and we all spend a lot of time reviewing documents. It simply isn't coming into a meeting for 25 minutes or half an hour and saying, yay, okay, or no, okay. We all spend the amount of time requisite to review the documents. And I feel personally that I do a very thorough job reviewing the documents. So it just, when a vote is cast, it's not cast as a perfunctory matter. It's cast with great responsibility and care. I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that. And I also, to add to my initial comment, this is Tim Dean, I'm sorry. To add to my initial comments, I failed to mention that this property, there were some comments made about the potential for this project to consume more in services than in taxes, and that we shouldn't be removing tax revenue from the tax rolls. I just wanted to make the comment, which was previously made, that this property was part of the school district and a tax exempt property. So this will be the time when it actually comes back on the tax rolls to pay revenue to the taxing entities. So while yes, it is a pilot, it will be the first time that it will be paying taxes of any kind. So it's not a reduction in tax revenue from historic purposes. Does any other board member have any comments or questions? And if you do, if you could just state your name or wave so that we can see.
This is Mark Doyle. I'd like to make a brief comment about the process.
Go ahead, Mark.
And that is that understandably for viewers and public attending meetings through the Zoom process and maybe on the telephone, it might be a good thing to point out that we have this a sort of a fail-safe dual vote, and that the first vote, the initial vote, is followed up by a second vote, a final vote, final resolution, and that ensures that there is a proper amount of time and consideration given to any issues that might come up in between. So, you know, in no case is there a simple quick vote that is final.
Thank you, Mark. Does anybody else have any other board member have any comments? Questions? Okay, hearing none, I will ask, is there anyone willing to put forth a motion for the approval of the final resolution for the Arthur May development?
This is Mark Doyle. I'd like to make a motion for the final, for the approval of the final resolution for the Arthur May development.
Okay, is there any?
Al Torriani, I would second that motion.
Thank you, Al. Okay, Jasmine, will you please take a roll call vote?
Excuse me,
Oh,
Chairman
I'm
Dean.
sorry. Yes.
There were some questions that, additional questions that I had that
Oh,
perhaps,
I'm sorry.
may be opportune at this time. I know that we had asked some of the participants, whether the applicant or the school district, to sign in, and I did have a question of further clarification because the information we received when we did the preliminary approval was a little incomplete. So I would like to see if perhaps maybe I could raise that question before we vote. I mean, you have a motion and a second, so I think this would be okay for discussion, if that's okay for Council Don Capolino.
I'll defer to Don. Is that okay, Don Capolino?
Yes, Don Capolino saying.
Okay, Don Sagliano, please go.
Yeah, so I wanted to further, Don Sagliano, I wanted to further a question that was posed when we did the initial approval, and it was a question directed to the school district, Mr. Sheldon. If you can possibly respond. The question that was raised was about potential enrollment challenges which may occur from this fully built out project, and at the time the response was that you didn't have that information available, which is fine. And I just was wondering if there was any further information that you could perhaps give to the board here at this time.
offer the same answer that I think I've offered in the past, which is that the school district has been experiencing enrollment decreases, particularly over the 4 or 5 years of this project. So that's the initial reason why the building is for sale to begin with. In addition, we have an entire elementary school that we've moved our administration services into that can actually go back into service. So we have plenty of space to handle growth if the area were to increase and the enrollments were starting. Right now, planed off at about 8,000 students, at least for the last 2 years. So the decrease has started to slow, but that's well within our capacity, remaining buildings that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Sheldon. I appreciate your response.
Don, did you have any other questions?
No, that was one question that I wanted to get out onto the floor.
Thank you. Okay, this is Tim Dean. We have a motion and we have a second on the floor right now. So Jasmine, could you please take a vote?
Tim Dean,
In favor?
Mark Doyle,
Yes, in favor.
Stacy Lagenthal,
In favor?
and Jamie Picone,
Jamie?
In favor?
Thank you, Jamie.
Don Sagliano,
Don Sagliano in favor?
Al Torriani.
Al Torriani in favor.
Okay. Is there, so everybody has voted in favor. I don't believe there's any opposed or abstentions remaining, but if there are, please so state. Okay, that project is approved. So Sarah, is there anything else on the agenda that we need to talk about?
Yes, so we have a board member who is stepping down.
That is true. That's my cue. Thank you. As all the board members and all those attending may be aware, Stacy Lagenthal will be done in her role as a board member as of the end of June, so this is her last meeting that she's attending. And so we wanted to acknowledge her contributions to our organization. You know, she brought a very good perspective and point of view to our discussions and our meetings, and we very much appreciate what she has done. And so because of that, it's very hard through a Zoom meeting to show this, but Stacy, we wanted to provide you with a little token of our appreciation. And Sarah, I guess if Sarah could show it, maybe.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And Sarah, maybe you could tell her where we got that for her.
So yeah, so this is Sarah. And Stacy, we got you a plaque from Hudson Beach Glass. And on it, it says, presented to Stacy M. Langenthal in appreciation for her dedicated commitment to the Dutchess County Industrial Development Agency and the Dutchess County Local Development Corporation, 2017 through 2020. It is a plaque that actually is based on the topography of the Hudson River. So we thought that was a nice touch. So I will be delivering this to you at a time that's convenient, but I just wanted to show it on the meeting. And it's hard to see because it's glass, but I put a piece of tissue behind it so you can see it.
So Stacy, once again, thank you very much for your contributions.
Tim, this is Stacy. If I could speak for just a second, I just wanted to thank you all. Thank you for the lovely plaque, but thank you also for what I've learned from all of you during this time. This was not an area of work that I had done before, and it was really fascinating to learn how this works. And I learned so much from each of you that came before me, and even those of you that have joined the board after me, we've learned together. So I just want to thank you all for the time and the education. It's been a pleasure serving with you.
Thank you once again. Anybody else have any comments?
Tim, this is
Yes.
Mary Kay Verba. If I could just have a second.
Mary Kay.
This is also my last meeting. So I just wanted to thank the IDA board for all their support for tourism over the years, and what a pleasure it was working with such a professional group of people that recognize tourism as a significant segment of the community and Dutchess County. You know, you are always there for us. You've been supporting us, and I just appreciate the personal support that each of the members of this organization, the time that they give, the thorough thought that they put into all the projects that they put forth. And so I appreciate it. This is a resilient county. We will come together, we stand together, and we will fly again in this economy. So I do appreciate it, and thank you so much for all your support over the years.
Mary Kay, thank you for attending this meeting, and may I say that your contributions individually to the County of Dutchess and your personal efforts to improve our economy are, I would really say, very hard, immeasurable in many ways. You have single-handedly taken tourism as your mission, and you know, being in this community since the 1980s and seeing the impact that you've had as you've moved up through the ranks, I can't thank you enough personally and as chair of this board for what you've done. And I wish you the very best in retirement, and you will be missed tremendously.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. You may not be able to hear it, but everybody's clapping. Is there any other items of business that we need to discuss? Okay, at this time, we will adjourn.
Mark Doyle had.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
Sorry. Thank you. I muted this is Mark Doyle. I muted myself because I had background noise, but I just wanted to say two things. Stacy, thank you so much for your time and presence on the board, and steady hand taking over the Treasury reins, and your contributions particularly. So I'm sure that all the other things you're doing will benefit greatly from your presence and attention. And to Mary Kay, I just wanted to say, particularly, you know, agriculture in the Hudson Valley has benefited massively due to your application of the strategy of linking agriculture and tourism, creating an agritourism industry here that is really on a par with any of the best areas, Napa Valley, etc., in the rest of the world. So we are very grateful for that, and look forward to much more growth as a result of it.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to make a comment, please speak up or wave your hand. It's hard for me to see everybody at once on my screen, unfortunately. I'm scrolling through and I don't think I see anybody else. So at this time, I would like to adjourn the IDA meeting.